Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. As preppers, we should all have some kind of emergency food storage on hand, ready for when something hits the fan. That could be some kind of grid down event or natural disaster, which makes food supplies either erratic or, in some cases, non-existent, or it could be sudden spikes in food prices, for whatever reason. It's important that you always know what food stores you do have on hand, how long they'll last, and it's even more important that you know what you might need to top up on if you get a heads up that something might be about to occur. So let's take a look. If you're a regular subscriber to the channel, you might remember a video I did a few months ago now about potential for food crisis. This was mainly due to a significant weather event in the US, whereby the main crop growing states suddenly got a massive downpour over a prolonged period and suffered from large scale flooding. Well, since then, the flooding has continued and the planting season is pretty much a disaster in the US. And we've also got problems with the opposite end of the scale, severe drought in Australia, Africa and India in food growing regions. Add to that the outbreak of African swine fever, which has decimated the pig farming in China, and which has over the last few months spread into neighbouring countries such as Vietnam. And then, as if you couldn't get worse, we now find that there's a potential war looming in the Gulf, with the US posturing up to Iran, and a potential risk that the oil supply route through the Straits of Hormuz is disrupted, which would cause a spike in oil price and therefore a spike in food price. It's the weekend and I'll be definitely going out to do some food shopping, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to go through my bulk stores of emergency food, both the canned goods in the kitchen and the bulk dried supply that I store up in the roof space, and I'd take a look and see exactly what I had and what I might want to top up on. And I thought it might be useful as a result of doing that to produce this video, just as a reminder. You'll know from previous videos that my kitchen is actually very, very small. There's not a great deal of space in here at all, but I still do have cupboards which I use to store all my various day-to-day pantry items, along with more bulk storage or long-term storage items, especially canned goods. Do have lots and lots of canned goods in various cupboards in what is, as I said, a small kitchen. So we're busy today going through, doing an inventory, seeing just exactly what we have got. I'm going to pop up into the roof space as well and just have a look at the dried goods. We'll see that in a second. The roof space is where I keep bulk stores of toiletries and dried foods in these large bin type containers. So that one's full of toiletry items. This one's got bulk dried foods, beans, pasta, sugar, rice, oats, that kind of thing. Both in bulk bags and in recycled soda bottles with an oxygen absorber in. You'll have seen that in a previous video. We've got smaller sized buckets, again with bulk dried foods in. So again on here we've got pasta and spaghetti. This one's got porridge oats. This one's full of rice. A few more toiletry bits there. And again there. Bulk buckets. These are the soda bottles I use. I recycle these. I'll store up, wash and store up a lot of these. Get about 10 generally at one time, so that I'm using a full packet of oxygen absorbers without wasting them. Other bits and pieces in here, I'll not dwell on some of these, but you'll remember that from a previous video. The DIY composting or bag and bin toilet system. You'll remember this from a previous video as well. That's my 3-stage water filter unit. So I'm going to drag these bulk stores out along with all my canned goods and just doing an inventory and see what we've actually got and what we might need to top up on. So as you can see, I've dragged out a lot of the bulk storage. There is still some sat behind me on the floor, but I literally couldn't fit any more on to the countertop. As you can see in previous videos, I've pulled these recycled soda bottles out because I did an experiment going back 2013-2014. Yeah, that's 2014, a couple more 2014s, a couple of 15s here, 2015, 2014. This works really well. These have been stored now, as you can see, from 2014, 2015. The plastic bottles are still crushed in, which means that the oxygen's been sucked out by the oxygen absorbers. So this is something that I am going to keep doing. I'll keep, as I get enough bottles, I'll keep topping these up with a variety of different things. So just as some examples, I've got lentils there, both red and yellow. I'm quite happy that I've got sufficient of those for now. I've got butter beans in that one, kidney beans in that one, a couple of kilos in each one. That is something that I will expand on now that I've got the real basics in place. I'll start expanding on the amount of beans. Something I am disappointed with, and I didn't realise until today, which is a good excuse for doing this, is sugar. Yes, in the cupboard I've got probably about 8 or 9 kilos in bags, but I've only got this, it's slightly over, it's about 1.5 kilos, just over 1.5 kilos of sugar in this plastic soda bottle. You can see from the state of the bottle it is still crushed because the oxygen's been sucked out of it, so it clearly is good. This was done in 2015, we're in 2019 now, so it does last a long time. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It is still fluid inside, it's not all gone into a big horrible lump. So I'm pleased with those. It is something I'll keep doing. I've got about 6 or 7 of these up in the roof space. As soon as I've got 10, I'll certainly put more sugar aside, and I'll put some more butter beans and kidney beans aside. But that's those. I'll just get those out of the way, and we can kind of go on to the main event. So as you can see here, I've got a couple of soda bottles full of oats, and then I've got bagged oats which I keep in these blue plastic buckets that you saw up in the roof space. In total I've got 11 kilos of rolled oats put to one side, which equates to 220 servings. There's 41,500 calories in these bags. There's 7 months worth of breakfasts just in these bags, and they are long-term storage. They stay in those plastic buckets in the roof space. On a normal day-to-day basis, you'll have seen these in previous videos because I also use these in my 24-hour ration packs. I have single sachets of flavoured rolled oats. This is syrup flavour, and I've got, just on a normal day in my pantry, I've got 80 of these, so 10 boxes, 8 sachets per box, because I do use them on a daily basis. And literally when I go to the supermarket every week, I'll always get a box to make sure that I've got those 10 boxes sat in place in the normal pantry. So in terms of breakfasts, I've got 7 months worth of breakfasts just in porridge. Obviously you can supplement that, I've talked about it in previous videos. I've got dried fruit, I've got honey, I've got a variety of jams, marmalades and syrups in the normal pantry. But I know that I've got 7 months of breakfast in storage long term, plus of course whatever I have in the pantry. In my case I have at least 80, which is over 2 months worth of breakfasts in those single sachets. So that's porridge oats. kilos. Moving on now to my favourite staple, that's rice. As you can see, I've got a variety of litre bottles of rice that I put away some time ago, 2014, 2015, 2014, and there's one I did on a video this year, 2019. Then I've also got, again for long-term storage, I've got bulk bags. You'll have seen me buying those and topping up as I've done my normal weekly shops. Plus these are right now a bargain at 45 pence a kilo. You are not going to get that for very much longer, I'll tell you. And I've also got a full bucket. There's 10 kilos in that bucket. It's a sealed bucket. It was done this year. I bought a big bag, 10 kilo bag, at a bit of a bargain price. So I popped it straight into there. It's got oxygen absorbers in. I've also taped up the bucket just to make absolutely sure it is airtight. Rice will sit pretty much forever, to be honest. So I've got 10 kilos there, plus these bags and those recycled soda bottles. In total, in terms of rice, I've actually got 22 kilos of rice stored away, which equates to 286 servings, 78,000 calories. It's a lot. So if I had 2 meals a day in rice, be a bit boring, but hey, I've got 4 months, 2 meals a day of rice to go with my breakfasts. Now clearly you wouldn't want to do that, but I've got it there, and I know in my mind I've got it there. On a day-to-day basis, I do have in the normal pantry loose rice. I also have loads of these. I always have at least 15 to 20 of these microwave bags of rice. My camper van has got shed loads of these in because they're dead easy in terms of a meal. You can eat them cold, straight out the packet. Prefer not to, I prefer to heat them up. You can either microwave them, or you can pop them in a pan of boiling water, still in the bag, and just warm it through. So in addition to my 22 kilos long-term storage up in the roof space, I've always got at least a month worth of these kicking around. Plus, of course, I've got jars, a couple of different types of jars of loose rice, different kinds of rice in my normal pantry. So rice, absolute bargain. Moving on to something you've seen again in the previous video, and that's pasta. I've got, again, loads of this in the long-term storage, up in the roof space. I just keep them in these plastic buckets. They're in sealed bags anyway, but just to be absolutely sure, I do stick them into these plastic buckets. Now in total, I've got 8 kilos of this penne type of pasta. The 8 kilos equates to 104 servings, about 14,000 calories in total. So as with the rice, I know that were I to have 2 meals a day of this rice, then I've got at least 2 months worth of of pasta at 2 meals a day. So 2 months worth of the pasta and at least 4 months at 2 meals a day on the rice. I know that I'm good for 6 months worth, mix and match, of lunches and main meals. If I had nothing else, obviously in my normal pantry and my long-term canned storage I supplement this pasta just in my normal day-to-day pantry with spaghetti. I do like spaghetti. Again, there's a good month and a bit if I just had nothing but spaghetti. And I have, of course, you'll have seen in the previous videos, got absolutely shed loads of these single serving. It actually says in there, for these packets, which are slightly larger, that it's 2 servings, but I wouldn't. I'd eat the lot in one go. I've always got, again, at least 30, sometimes more, depends if the kids have been to visit me or not, because they do eat them. And again, I've got loads of these in the camper van, so I know I've got another month's worth in these instant pastas. along with my spaghetti. So I've got absolutely bucket loads of pasta and pasta variants to go at as well. So that's long-term bulk storage of your basic essentials that I have put away in the loft space, in addition to my normal pantry. I'll now give you a quick preview of some of the canned goods that I have. Okay, you'll have to excuse what looks like a bit of a disaster area, but clearly I didn't want to drag every single thing out the cupboard, so I've just pulled out a selection of stuff. I'll mention these first because, as I said earlier, I've got around 7 months of rice and pasta. You're going to definitely need a good supply of stock cubes. They come in all different flavours, vegetable, chicken, there's some beef in the cupboard as well. 10 of these of each is going to give you, because there's 10 in a pack, so you've got 100, get the same with the beef, 100, that's 300 potential additions to meals to kind of spice up your rice or your pasta and make it less bland, because at some point for sure your canned goods are going to run out, unless of course you've got unlimited funds and you can buy a warehouse. So I've got lots of stuff on the counter. I'll mention these first. You'll have seen these in the previous video. I've already got 7 months worth of breakfast porridge, plus my normal sachets as well. I don't actually have these with breakfast. Normally I just have the porridge itself, but these do go into my 24-hour ration packs to supplement the porridge in those. And sometimes I'll have these at lunch at work. I take a stock of these and put them in the desk drawer at work. So they are very, very good. I've got 13 boxes of these at any one time, because they just do stack neatly on the shelf. There's 5 in a box, so I've got 65 of those, so there's 2 months of having one of these a day for a stack. Staying on the subject of snacks, we've got a whole host of different potential snacks or lunchtime meals. I've mentioned noodles lots and lots of times, and I have lots and lots of these. I've got 40 packs currently sitting on the shelf. There will be a load more in the camper van, because I do use these in the camper van. So potentially I've got 40 light lunches or snacks if I've been overworking and feeling really hungry. Coupled with those, in terms of snacks, I've mentioned these lots of times in videos. I've also mentioned them lots of times in my 24-hour ration packs, and that's these dried pasta snacks. You just add boiling water and you've got, again, a light meal or a snack to fill you up if you've been working hard, and or you could just drag out your rations to make them go further. But in terms of these, I've got 30 packs of these, all different flavours, stacked around the house. Again, I've got a load of these in the camper van as well, because I do use them when I'm out in the van. I've also mentioned these earlier when I talked about bulk food as a supplement. I've got easily a month's worth of these microwave rices. Again, still on the subject of snacks, or indeed you can use them as sauces for your pasta. You've got packaged soups and you've got tinned soups. Now I've actually got, in terms of different varieties of soups, I've got at least 2 months worth of tinned soups stacked in the cupboard. All different kinds: vegetable, chicken, tomato, beef. I've also got lots of boxes of these. There's 4 to a pack in soups. I've got 32 packs of these, 34 cans of soups. So I've definitely got 2 months worth of one-a-day snacks in soups, or as I say, you can put them in your sauces with you as a sauce for your pasta. So if you did that, you'd have 2 months worth of sauces for your pasta. So soups, very cheap, very good. Moving on, In terms of canned goods, I actually don't eat many canned goods. They are there as a backup in case the grid goes down. On a normal day, I have fresh vegetables which I steam in the microwave, and I'll have fresh meat or fresh fish. But I do carry a whole host of different vegetables. So I've got potatoes, chickpeas, butter beans, kidney beans, tomatoes, peas, mushrooms, carrots, mixed vegetables, a whole range of different kinds of vegetables. I've actually got in the cupboard right now 65 cans of those. So even if you had 2 a day as a meal, or as part of a meal, I've still got well over a month's worth. I wouldn't, because I would use a mix and match approach. I would use all my pastas and rices with some meats, and I would use these in conjunction with, let's say, some mashed potato. I actually have 12 boxes of this mash. There's 4 servings in each box, so I've got 48 servings of mashed potato to go with my vegetables and whatever else I want to use as a meat. I've got beans just as they are, normal cans of beans. I've actually got 20 of these cans, small cans of beans, so if I had 1 a day, almost a month worth just of beans. I mentioned these in a previous video. I much prefer these because they are so versatile and they have so many calories, proteins, fats and carbs in them. That's tins of beans and sausages all in the same can. Right now in the cupboard I've got 20 of these, and I can use those perhaps with vegetables or perhaps with the mash to make a meal. Bit of a random item in here. I have mentioned it in previous videos. If you're drinking tea and coffee, which I do, and you don't have milk because the grid's gone down and there's no milk in the shops, consider having dried milk powder in the cupboard. I've got lots of this in the cupboard. I've actually got 7 right now today, 7 of these cartons. If I add all of those together, I've got a total of 42 pints. I probably use around about 3 pints a week, I would guess, for milk in my tea and coffee. So just in my 7 cartons of milk, I've got 3.5 months worth of milk for my tea and coffee. Sauces, I mentioned using soups as sauces before. I do carry a variety of different kinds of sauce. Indeed, I mentioned those just recently in a previous video. In terms of sauces to go with the pasta predominantly, I've got 35 packs of pasta, whether that's these recyclable jars or whether it's the cardboard cartons. So again, if I had 1 a day, which I probably wouldn't because most of these will actually get 2 servings out of, there's a month. If I do use it as 2 servings, there's 2 months, plus of course my soups if I want to use those. In terms of what to go with your rice or your pasta, or indeed your mashed potato and vegetables for that matter, I've got a variety of different meats and meat products. I've got what we call meals in a can. I've got a variety of those. I've got some curries, there's chicken and beef. I've got a chilli, I've got some spag bol, and I've got stew and steak there. And they are what they say, they're a meal in a can. You just open the can, you can eat them cold because they are already cooked, or you can warm them up, which I would. It's actually quite a substantial fill-in meal. That's why it's called a meal in a can, I guess. So I could have that, any of these different varieties. If I wanted steak, I could perhaps have that with my vegetables or my mashed potatoes. The spag bol I would probably have with the pasta. The chilli and the different kinds of curries I'd probably have with the rice. But meals in a can, I've actually got 32 of these, so I have actually got a month's worth of 1 big meal a day, plus of course your different snacks, just in those meals in cans. I also love these. I've not mentioned them recently, I don't think, but they're hot dogs. Some have 6 in a can, some have 8 in a can, depends which brand it is. You can use these to go with your mash, your veg, or you can have them with packets of noodles, or you can have them with your pasta or your rice. Extremely versatile. Yes, they're reconstituted meat or machine reclaimed meat, but in terms of your proteins, your fats, your calories, they're great. They're very simple. Again, eat them straight out the can cold, or as I would, chop them up and put them into a pasta or a rice or a normal mash and veg meal. Again, very, very versatile. You'll get a couple of servings out of any one can, whether that's these 6 cans or the 8 cans. And I've actually got 32 of these right now sitting in the cupboard. Moving along to the more traditional meats and of course fishes. Again, I stock a variety of canned meats. You'll have seen these in previous videos. They are different sizes. Every single one of them you'll get at least 2 servings out of. In these bigger cans, I mean, that's 400 grams in there. Or these big key cans, you might get 3 servings out of that. But in terms of canned meats, I've got 35 different types of canned meats. As I said, you'll get at least 2 servings out of there. So you're looking at over 2 months worth of meals out of the different canned meats that I've got. Mentioned these a lot in previous videos. Tins of sardines, very, very nutritious, lots of proteins, carbs, not so much carbs, but proteins, fats and calories certainly. Meal in a can. Again, eat them cold or eat them warmed up. I actually don't mind these cold. Some people might balk at the thought, but hey, they're in tomato sauce and I do quite enjoy them. And right now I've got 40 of these sat in the cupboards. So again, there's a month worth of meals just in those sardines. So lots of different things to look at. I've not touched on condiments and I've not touched on drinks like teas and coffees and such like. I think I've gone through enough for one day in a video. So in addition to my 7 months worth of breakfasts, which I've already got stored away, I'm comfortable with that. My 7 months worth of bulk rice and pasta, plus at least a month's worth of other kinds of rices and pastas that I've got. In amongst all of these, my canned goods, my vegetables, my soups, my beans and sausages, my different meals in cans, and my meats and fishes, I've certainly got at least 3, probably pushing on 4 months worth of things that would supplement my rice and my pasta. So the big takeaway for me is what I need to stock up on to get to that 7 months that I have with my rice and pasta. As I said, I think between 3 and 4 months on the various canned goods that I have, my meats, my fishes, my meals in a tin, the various veggies and mashed potato. I think 3 to 4 months. So I need to get another 2 to 3 months worth of canned goods so that I reach that 7 months that I have now in stock for the rice and the pasta. What I would say as the big takeaway for you from this would be to first of all take a look at what you do have and have a little think, a little experiment. What goes with what? So I've got some mashed potato, what can I have with that? Well, I can have veggies, I can have beans, I could maybe add a meal in a can, whatever. What can go with the rice? Well, again, meal in a can, chilli, perhaps some canned meats. Have a little think about what you've got, what you would use together, and more importantly, I guess, stuff that you are comfortable in eating. It's no good piling up millions of tins of sardines if you're not very keen on fish. Similarly, I know not all people are fond of curry or chili. They find it a bit too hot or too spicy. For me, it's great because I do enjoy it. So get the stuff that you're definitely going to eat, because there's nothing worse than storing up a load of stuff and after 6 months finding it's coming to its rotation date and you're just going to chuck it because you don't like to eat the stuff. The second big takeaway for you, I would say, is look back at my previous videos, particularly the very last one I did on what you can buy for the price of a cup of coffee, because it is surprising if you shop around and you're careful just what you can get for your average price of a cup of coffee. I think I said £2 in my last video, and you'll recall from that things like your rice. You can get 4 kilos of rice, you can get 3 or 4 kilos of pasta. So takeaway for you, have a look at what you've got. How long realistically could you last with what you've got? And if it's not enough, then it's a reminder for you to stock up and eat what you store and store what you eat. But for sure, there's nothing wrong with having, I would say 7 months is bordering on minimum, really, because if the grid does go down and it's serious, you want to be able to survive long enough for you to source alternatives, whether that's scavenging or whether that's hunting or whether that's growing your own garden. 7 months is not a long time, believe me, in terms of stored food. Just if you look at the growing season for normal vegetables, it's a year. So 7 months isn't a great amount of time. My ambition in due course is to get to that magic 1 year's worth of stored food, and I'll certainly be continuing as I am now, every time I go shopping, just adding a little bit each time. And as I said in the last video, for the price of a coffee, it's surprising what you can get and how quickly all of that will accumulate, so it doesn't have to break the budget. Anyway, I've gone on long enough, and I've also got to get all of this stuff put back in the cupboards, because it is actually getting on for dinner time here, so I'll close this now. Well, I hope that you found something in there that was of use to you. If you did like the video, then please do click on the like button. Also, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done that. As always, I welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. Just leave them in the comment section below. What are you storing? How much have you got? How long do you think that you could last on your stored food? Let me know in the comment section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.